Okay, now the idea of My Projects is that you can link together multiple estimates to give yourself a grouped set of data for a variety of purposes. So let's just nip into the My Projects section on the main menu here. Okay, it's fairly straightforward to create your project. You click on the New Project button, ask for project name. Now I'm going to call mine 2017. Okay, and I'll explain why in a moment. Brief description. So you've got projects such as apartments where you might have multiple estimates for lots of different apartments that you're linking all together. General building work, etc. Housing development, which could be multiple houses. Small sites, again a group of estimates that's on one site, or a workload project. Okay, now there's basically the two most common areas where you would use My Projects. Number one is that you've got a client that you have done two estimates for. For example, they might ask you for an estimate for an extension, and they might want, say, a new garage as well, but they're not sure if they can afford both. So they've asked you to do two separate estimates. You've given them the quotes, and they've actually decided to go for both jobs together. So what you can do is you can link them together. That would probably be a small site project where the two estimates can be linked as one project, which means you've now got one set of data as far as things like profit forecast, cash flow, and of course materials ordering are concerned. The other type of project, and this is the one that's more about looking at the financials of your business, is what we call a workload project, which is what I'm going to create and show you tonight. That's where you would link together multiple jobs which you've won, completely unrelated to each other except for the fact that they are all your business. And the idea of that is that you can link together all these estimates, and you can then look at things like financial data for all your work over the next 6, 9, 12 months. Okay, so you've got that as one big set of data, which is very handy for things like forecasting. If you're looking to expand the business, if you can see that you've got a certain amount of profit coming to the business, you can make the right sort of decision on how far you can expand, or maybe that you can't expand. And it's a very good way of making sure that you don't expand too quickly. It also gives you things like cash flow, which is very handy. And the other thing is you can also see the total amount of materials you're going to be ordering for the year, which is very good if you then want to go into your merchant and say, can I have a bit more discount? Because every % discount that you can get off materials is additional profit for yourself. So let's make a quick workload project. So once I've given it a name and a description, what then pops up is a screen asking me to choose my estimates. So conveniently, I've got a set of 3 estimates that I've got for the next 12 months. Now, I've already done some work on the Gantt charts within the individual estimates. So when I bring these in, so they should roughly tie up, but I can still actually edit that from within the project manager. So I'm going to select these 4 jobs. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is let's have a quick look at my Gantt chart. So what this does is it gives me a chart here for all this work in one go. Now, as I said, I have actually cheated and done a little bit of a Blue Peter and already done some editing on these. So what I've done here is I've got a small job here, and I've got a little bit of an overlap because my ground workers and brick workers have kind of finished their work here, and so they can move on to this next job. And then when they're finished here, they can move on to this job here. And then I've then got a housing project here where I want all my guys together. So I've got a little bit of overlap on some smaller jobs, and then I've got a really big job here that I want all my guys on. So in its simplest form, this gives you a nice quick sort of snapshot of all your projects over a particular period of time. So it's very handy for planning. If you'd have done this import and you'd see they've got a whole lot of jobs together, and you see you've got a whole lot of footings being done here and another set of footings being done at the same time on another job and another set of footings being done on another job, you can immediately see that you've potentially got a problem there. In its simplest form, you could go, right, I need to get some subcontractors in to cover my work because I've taken on more work than I've got labourers for. Which is fine, because that's the whole idea is this. It's for you to manage your business. There's nothing wrong with having more business as long as you can cover it with employees. The other side of it is if you know you have a finite amount of people you can employ, you then might have to move things around. So you can actually, going back to summary screen here, you can actually go into each estimate like this. and I can then go into the chart within this estimate, and if I wanted to I could alter my start date, etc. So for example, this one here I've got starting on the 1st of May. I might want to I want to move it back a month, so if I say let's start on the 3rd of April, click OK. That's moved my start date back. If I then go back to my summary and then close out of the estimate, that returns me back to my projects. And if I go into my chart here, you see this has now pulled it further back. Okay, so that's a nice, quick, easy opening to it. One of the things that we've done with the recent updates on EstimatorXpress is we've improved the way this outputs now. So if you want to print this, we've now got some controls so you can choose different sizes of printout to suit whatever printer you've got. A lot of people do only have an A4 printer, but some of you might have an A3 printer. They become really cheap. You can pick one up for less than 100 quid these days. You can do it landscape or portrait, and the big one is you can actually do multi-page printouts. So quite a common one is you actually might want to make it 2 pages wide and 2 pages high. So you've actually put, this could be split out across 4 sheets, which you can then print out and pin together. That is very handy if, I mean I've only got 4 jobs here, but if say you've got 10 or 15 projects in a year, it becomes very, very crowded on one piece of paper. So if you split it across multiple sheets, it will spread it back out and make it a lot more visible for you, a lot easier for you to interpret in the office. You probably blue tack it on your wall or something. Okay, so that's a quick bit on the chart. So the next part is to look at our reports and how this groups the data together for you. Okay, so hopefully you're all reasonably familiar with the report section of EstimatorXpress anyway. I'm just going to pick on 3 or 4 reports in particular here where you can see how this can impact, or where you can see the visibility can be useful for your business. So number 1 would be a cash flow. So if I go to my cash flow report and open this up, I've now got a cash flow here starting from basically the end of 2016, running up to here, I've got up to the end of October. Okay, so I've got a cumulative cash flow and I've got outgoings as I'm going through the year. Okay, so if you're managing your business and you've now got foresight of where you're going to have outgoings, it means that you can make sure that your billing system to your clients is robust enough to be covering these outgoings, because obviously you don't want to be in a position where essentially you are lending money to your client by you buying things before they're particularly paying you for them. Okay, so, and this gives you, an entire, I mean, I've got a 10, 11 month snapshot here. You can do it for whatever period of time you want. You might want to do 6 months, you might want to do 18 months, okay? It depends how far in the future you've got business lined up for. So as well as cash flow, how about this, profit forecast? So you can see profit as it's coming in and as it accumulates through the year. Okay, and so I've got, on the work that I've got there, I've got a gross. Now remember, there's a difference between the gross and the net. I've got a gross profit of 56,000. Okay, I would translate that to a net profit of probably 28,000. Okay, in reality, as a general rule of thumb, if you're basing your estimates on a 30% markup, you typically lose half of that on your company's fixed costs. So I've just used a 30% markup here, so I'm going to assume half this is gone. So I could look at this and say that the company is going to make a net profit of about £28,000. Now that's pretty good if I'm thinking that I want to take on, say, a new project manager this year to help me with the workload, because I've got too much on now, or maybe a salesman or an estimator, or somebody else in the company, whatever it is, a project manager or a site manager, etc. So if you could see that you've got an extra £28,000 worth of net profit coming in, you know that you've got enough profit in there with what you've estimated to cover expanding the amount of personnel. It might be that you want to buy a van, buy a digger, get a whole load of plant, etc., refurbish the offices, whatever, buy some golf clubs, whatever is important to the business. But it means that if you were, say, planning on taking on 3 staff, you could look at this and say, well, I've got a net profit of 28,000. That's probably not enough to cover 3 new bodies. So I'm going to have to win more work if I want to do that. And you can use that decision to control your ongoing expenditure. Okay. Also very handy if you're looking at doing developing and you're trying to forecast your profits on work, and of course you've got to be having conversations with bank managers. Okay, obviously on a £28,000 net profit, you're probably not going to get a lot, but obviously I've only got 4 jobs in here. If you've got quite a lot of substantial work in, you've got a greater profit to be showing, and that of course will then be going towards all your financial statements towards bank managers for getting money out of them. Okay, you can drill down into all these things like all your costs for various types of labourers, various types of work through the year, etc. The last one I'm going to show is the materials used report. So this has given me a full set of materials for all those jobs. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to strip out the build phase option here. So I'm just going to drag it up here. So I've just got now, there you go, that's everything I'm going to buy over the year. And if I scroll down to the bottom, I can see here that I'm going to spend, let's call it £95,000 with my merchant. So as builders, you probably enjoy the odd bit of haggling with your local merchant. And generally when you do that, you're probably going in on, hi guys, today I'm going to spend £2,000 with you, can I have a bit of money? If you go in with a report here that says, hi guys, I'm going to be spending £95,000 with you in the next period of time, that gives you probably a lot more weight to your argument to get an extra 5% off your timber or 2% off ballast or whatever. And that's a very, very useful report, especially if you think if you've already won this business with these cost prices, if you can then get further discounts off these cost prices, every single % of discount that you get becomes an increased profit. That's money that goes straight into your back pocket or the pocket of the company. So you can actually significantly increase the company's profitability by negotiating further discounts on your existing cost prices. Okay, of course that makes you a lot more profitable. Okay, it's very hard to get those extra few pounds here and there, and this is a very good way of getting it. Okay, and that's it. It's short and sweet. It's just it's a very simple tool to use, but you can actually use this to help run your business. We have a lot of our guys out there now who I actually have conversations with their accountants using EstimatorXpress, looking at this particular part of the software, because they find it gives them most of the financial data that they need for all their planning and all their financial managing of the company. So as a business management tool, so switch your builder's head off a moment, but just look at this for business managing and business forecasting, this becomes an extremely useful tool.